I just figured it's been like forever since I've done an actual garden tour that or actually showed you guys what the heck I got going on here. So I got my cup of coffee with me. I just chopped off that big piece of celery for the thumbnail photo, but I went gave that to the cleaning lady. She's in the house cleaning right now. So we'll check out the celery house in a minute. It's like late November right now. The garden's actually looking great. Winter's coming. I see some temps in the 30s going into like this week, next week. So we'll see how that pans out. I'm not really planning to cover anything. So it's like kind of the end of the season. Everything I got left here, I'm just gonna harvest it, get it harvested and sold. If you're new to the channel, I'm Chef Mikey. I'm a former executive chef turned urban farmer, and this is my backyard. That's my house right up there. So come on, I got my cup of coffee. Let's go check this place out. Behind me here, I've got a couple beds of Salanova lettuce. This is a bed of carrots, a bed of spinach, and a bed of spinach right over here. That far bed, you can't really see it right now, but I'll show you in a minute. I just harvested today, and you'll see it's like trimmed right down so it'll grow back. And I mean, sometimes I can cut the spinach like 5 or 6 times, you know. I've got hoops installed on all this stuff already, and I've got like 26 foot wide frost blankets. So when it gets cold, I pull the frost blankets off. But at this point, it's like mid-November. I think Thanksgiving's next week. It's November 20th. I'm not gonna cover this stuff anymore. You know, the spinach and the carrots are pretty cold hardy. The lettuce is pretty cold hardy. I'll just hope to at least get a cut off the lettuce before it gets real cold and dies. I'm pretty sure I'll be able to harvest the carrots no matter how cold it gets. They're pretty cold hardy, but I'm definitely not gonna like fool with pulling frost blankets over everything this year. You know, this stuff, if I can harvest it, that's great, and if not, I'm just gonna take a little bit of time off in the winter. So either whenever I do get a chance to harvest this stuff or it dies out, then at that point I'm just gonna put a tarp over all this stuff for the rest of the winter, and then in the springtime I'll pull the tarp off. It'll be completely weed free. I'll put some compost down if needed, and then we'll just get our spring crops planted and everything's dry. I mean, with the methods that I use, it doesn't matter if it's like sopping wet. The walkways are all wood chips, the beds are all compost, so it never gets muddy out here. So I mean, I don't have to wait for it to like dry out in the spring or anything like that. One of the great things about the methods that I use here. Okay, so come on, we're gonna go over to the other side of the farm. I'm gonna show you where we're gonna install the new high tunnel here probably in like a month or two. So come on, let's go check that out. Where I'm standing right now is where we're gonna put the new high tunnel. So the high tunnel is like 21 feet wide, but anyways, it's gonna cover 5 beds. This far bed over there is cover crop. So I've got these 2 beds tarped right now just because we're gonna build the new high tunnel here. And then this is a bed of radicchio that I'm growing for one of my clients, and this is another bed of radicchio here. We'll probably just build the high tunnel right over that, so I'm not too concerned about it. You know, if we got to trample on it to build the high tunnel, then it just is what it is. And then once we get the high tunnel up, then we'll get this replanted for spring crop. Anyways, this is where we're gonna put the high tunnel. Behind me here is like all cover crop, so it's crazy. It's like mid-November and we've barely had like any frosts, you know. This plot right here is still like a summer cover crop. You can see it's kind of ugly looking. I've had to like mow it down with my weed eater several times, just like chop and drop it because it gets seed heads. So I don't want it to drop seeds because then that becomes a weed for next year. It's got some frost damage, but hopefully it gets cold soon. And my hope is that it's going to get cold and it's just going to kill that cover crop, and then it's just going to sit on top of the soil just kind of like a mulch. And then in the springtime we'll just kind of rake that cover crop residue into the walkways, and then those beds will be good to be planted. So I'm not exactly sure like how the high tunnel is going to set yet. So you know, it is what it is. We'll get that high tunnel built, cover crop will just kind of die, and then we'll just kind of rebuild beds there if needed. And it might kind of just stay like a hedgerow area also, like kind of next to the high tunnel, you know. Kind of directly behind me here, I got this from greencoverseed.com, and it's like a pre-inoculated mix, and it's a pretty cool website. You should go check it out. You know, they ask you a few questions like what season, the purpose of your cover crop, that type of stuff, you know, and then they just give you a recommended mix, and it's already pre-inoculated with like mycorrhizae, fungi, and you know, whatever the bacteria is that they need for the legumes to create the nitrogen nodules. And so it's a 11 or 12 species cover crop mix, and it's supposed to be a winter kill mix. So we'll see. I mean, it's got peas, radishes, all kinds of things, but it says that it needs to be 10 degrees for like a week for winter to kill it. So like in Tennessee, it's like kinda, but if winter doesn't kill it, then I'll probably just mow it down and tarp it for the spring, and then we'll kill it like that. And so I know a lot of people have been asking me about like the irrigation, and we're definitely going to get to that. We'll make an irrigation videos in the springtime at this point, you know. I know I probably said that last year too. But anyways, I just got these yard hydrants installed. The NRCS gave me a grant to install hydrants into the garden, so they didn't pay for the whole thing, but it was like cost share thing. They paid for like $1,000. They don't pay for the actual hydrants, but they pay for like the pipe to get laid. So this is gonna help me be a lot cleaner. But I don't have pipes coming out above ground from the crawl space anymore. So I'll be able to hook up like all the timers and everything here. I'll probably put like a housing around it. So when I get to like setting that back up in the springtime, I think at that point we'll do like the full-on irrigation video, you know. So if I turn around right here, you'll see I've got this area tarped. Now I just kind of put that tarp down. I'm trying to kill the grass because I've gotten another grant from the NRCS that is a pollinator habitat grant. So I'm gonna make this whole side yard basically pollinator habitats. It's old greenhouse plastic that I've got there. I'm trying to just solarize it. I don't know if it's gonna work in the winter or not. We'll see. I just kind of put that tarp on it, try to solarize it. Yeah, I totally get it that it's gonna kill any soil life, but dude, the soil life there is already dead, right? Where there's nothing to preserve. So we're gonna build healthy soil there and then plant the pollinator garden. So I'll show you guys how we do that when we get there. That's something that's pretty cool. And then right behind that, you know, I got my tractor over there, a pile of wood chips and a pile of bot compost. And like behind me here is, these are like those frost blankets. I just kind of pulled them up here, but they're just like 26-foot wide pieces of Agribon 50 that I could pull over the garden and cover like 6 or 7 beds at once, you know, as opposed to like doing one bed at a time, and cover the whole garden. Now I guess it's more like 30 minutes with 2 people, and it's more like an hour by myself, you know. Anyways, I got a pool cover roller, so I'll roll it up on a pool cover roller, and then I can just wheel the pool cover roller to whatever part of the garden, and I grab one side, somebody else grabs the other side, and we can just cover garden beds like that. So it's like super efficient way to protect the garden from frost. But like I said, I'm not really going to be doing that this year. It's just not worth the extra effort for me, you know what I mean? Like to be worried about like, oh my god, it's like frosting out, I need to go cover the garden with frost blankets or everything's gonna die, you know what I mean? It's like, and then you don't make any more money, right? Everything takes double the amount of time to grow. It's just not really worth it to do all that. The reason it's all out is because I did cover it when we got like an early frost, right? But like, I mean, it's almost December, like it's not worth it at this point, right? Let me just close the fence back up real quick. Okay, so basically like everything you can see behind me here is all like, it's either carrots, Salanova lettuce, or spinach. That's the only things I have out here in the garden at this point. So, and the radicchio. And then there's like one bed that's like half a bed of kale and half a bed of Swiss chard right here. I'll just harvest it for as long as I can into the winter, and then if it gets really cold and everything dies, then that's fine. It'll just die. I'll just leave it there, or we'll tarp it, you know, and then we'll just replant everything in the springtime. And springtime for us in Tennessee is like, you know, in February and March. You know, we'll get like some warm spells and you can get stuff planted, and then at that point I'll use the frost blankets if I need to. But we always get like a super cold spell, you know, and sometimes it's December, January, or February. You know, once that happens, then I'm comfortable to start planting stuff once we start getting warm spells, you know. So come on, I'll show you the high tunnels over here, everything I got going on in there. We'll check out those celeries and everything, and then we'll wrap back around. We'll finish up in the nursery over here. All right, y'all, so this is the celery tunnel. They're amazing. I mean, these things are like 3-4 feet tall. It's crazy. And like celery's been like a super good crop for me at the farmer's market, because, you know, I get these ladies who they juice them, so they'll come and they'll pay like $4 a head, and they'll buy like 10 of them at a time, you know. I'd make like $400 or $500 at a farmer's market with celery. And then I was buying them from Banner Greenhouse. I buy like the seedlings, Banner Greenhouse, organic greenhouse in North Carolina, and they just ship them, you know. But Banner Greenhouse went out of business this year, and then I also stopped going to farmers markets, and you know, I'm really just focusing on restaurants at this point. And so it's a little bit of a harder sale to a restaurant because they don't really like care about fancy celery, right? It's not like baby carrots, you know. They'll pay like top dollar for my carrots, but they don't really care about celery because they're just chopping it up, putting it in soups and stocks, right? Nobody's putting like a piece of celery on a plate and charging $1 like they do for for a carrot. And then Plus Banner Greenhouse went out of business. I can't order them anymore, and it's super hard to start from seed. So I'm just kind of on the fence if I'll continue growing celery. I love growing it. This stuff's amazing, you know, but I really don't want to go stand at a farmer's market all day on a Saturday to sell it. You know, I'd rather just find something that the restaurants would rather me grow. Or, I mean, I have been selling it. So I've been selling it for like $1.50 a pound, which, I mean, that kind of works. So, you know, is this a hard kind of transition to be like, okay, $4 a head, where like one bed is $1,200 if I'm doing that, you know, to transition to, I mean, $1.50 a pound ends up being like, I mean, still like $2.50 to $3 a head. So I mean, it's still fine, and I don't have to stand at a farmer's market all day on a Saturday. So I'll just kind of have to talk to the chefs and see if it's worth it to continue growing. But I love growing it. I mean, check this stuff out. I mean, that stuff's amazing, you know, it's huge. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I got going on in this tunnel. And I do have a bed of Salanova lettuce over here, so I cut it and then I let it grow back again, and I can get a second cut. I don't go for third cuts or anything like that. I get 2 cuts off it, and that's it. Okay, so come on, we'll go check out the other tunnels. Okay, and then this is my last, well, it's not my last tunnel, but anyways, so in this tunnel, 2 rows of Salanova lettuce down the middle, and then radicchio down the side. That stuff will probably be fine just staying in the tunnel, so I'll get that stuff harvested, and then we'll get those beds re-prepped and planted for late winter crop. So this is my nursery. We'll go check that out in a second. And then behind it here, I just got more lettuce and spinach there. That stuff's looking great, so hopefully I'll get that harvested soon. And then so this little area behind me right here, these are like half beds. They're like 25 feet long. All the other beds on the farm are 50 feet long. This was built for my wife, basically. I built it for her, but she just kind of lost interest. So it was intended to like grow things that we just want to eat, that are not really like profitable crop. At this point, I'm gonna make them perennial herb beds. So we've planted thyme in the far bed, and then these 2 beds, I had like some diseased tomatoes in that area, and then after that I planted some radicchio, and the radicchio also got diseased. So I don't know, it's like weird. It's just like one little place. It's like no matter what I plant in this little like square foot right there, it just dies. So it's quite interesting. But anyways, I just cover crop those beds for now with the winter kill cover crop, but you'll see it's not like very big. I just planted it because it's been warm. Normally I'd get like fall cover crops planted by no later than October 15th, but I planted these on like November 7th because it was 80 degrees, you know what I mean? And everything germinated great. So, you know, we'll just see how it goes. They'll grow, and winter will kill it eventually, hopefully. So I'll keep you posted on that. And then, so this is my nursery, you know, and I used to have like market garden beds in here. I just needed more nursery space and storage space. So I sacrificed a couple of beds, but I also like ended up leasing the other property. So I, you know, have way more growing space than I used to have. So it just made sense to turn this whole tunnel into like storage. I got these, like, these are my weed pots, you know, so I just like cover cropped them so that they have like good crop rotation, and like I don't have to throw out the soil. A lot of people like throw out the soil and like replace it, but I mean, that's like hundreds of dollars worth of soil. So I just cover crop that. I got some storage here, like we store all the like frost blankets, insect nets, shade cloths. It's just hanging from a pipe up there. You know, I got some shelves over here, some more shelving over there. I just got like a dry erase board up here where I could just like write tasks for workers and stuff, you know, put your name, your tasks for the day, and then, you know, I don't necessarily nobody has to like be asking me all day long, what's next, what's next, what's next. I just give them their jobs for the day up there, and everybody knows what they need to be doing. And then these are all nursery benches. I don't got much going on back here. I got 2.5 trays of Salanova lettuce that never got planted, but I'm not going to plant them at this point, probably. And then I got a few trays of parsley sitting back there. Same thing, never got planted, but I'm probably not going to plant them at this point. All right, y'all. And then y'all have seen how like everything kind of flows out of the garden and goes right in there into the wash pack, into my basement, and the Coolbot trailer, everything like that. So yeah, that's about it. That's what I got going on in the garden right now. I'll definitely plan to like take you over to the other garden and give you a tour of that place next time I go over there. I know I did like the interplant video, and then you guys haven't really seen anything since. So the Brussels sprouts are still over there. Most everything else has been like harvested and cover cropped at this point, and then we'll be planting garlic over there soon, so stay tuned for that. I'm definitely gonna do a garlic video because I documented everything from last year to this year's harvest, and then this year I'm gonna plant it, so I'm gonna do like a full like seed to harvest video. All right, so I really hope you enjoyed the garden tour, and I'll see y'all soon. All right, thanks y'all.